So we have one more speaker for you today. I'm very pleased to introduce from Microamp, Dawid Kuchta, who will be taking you through from data to real-time decisions. So a round of applause, if you will, for Dawid.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a great pleasure and honor to be here today at FYUZ. I'm Dawid, I'm CEO at Microamp, and gonna to talk about the connectivity, which is, of course, the main topic for FYUZ, and about the technology that evolves. However, over the last decade, we were used to provide networks as pure technology, pure connectivity layers, mainly to the MNOs. However, technology evolves and also the market evolves. And we started to provide technology mainly to the enterprises. And it occurs that enterprises don't want to pay for the pure connectivity layers, for the pure technology. They want to pay for something different. And this is the real problem for the industry at the moment, especially for the private network market, which we see that there is a stagnation. And this is the problem that Microamp is solving or trying to solve. As customers don't want to pay for data, we are trying to make or transform data to real-time decisions. And if we transform data to real-time decisions, the value follows immediately. And this is what we are working on at Microamp. In many cases, to add the data to the complex networks, we need to create a small piece of the layer or small piece of applications that is mainly not as advanced as the system behind the network. So we can have very, very complex systems that the customer at the moment doesn't care what is this networks, how expensive it is, how it works. However, the small piece of the software that will do something on the networks create the value for the customers. And in many cases, this value lies at the edge of the network, at the let's say, end devices. Usually, at the moment, it may be, for example, the cameras combined with the real-time data analytics that analyze the video or analyze the voice and provides the real value to the customers, or the network slicing, or the real-time decisions platform. This is something that really change the perspective or how the network are utilized and how the networks are delivering today, especially if we want customer to pay us for this network. So usually customers are paying for not for the data, but for the results that comes from this data. And mmWave is important in that game because this technology really enables us to transform from the data to the data decisions, to the real-time data decisions based on the inputs we provide from the end devices or from the edge. And I remember several years ago, we used neural networks or classifiers to make decisions. Now we call it AI. Really, mmWave with AI is a great combination in providing the data because of the network performance. And in many cases, we hear that the same performance or the same scenarios can be provided by Wi-Fi, which is much cheaper and allows us to monetize the private networks more swiftly than with mmWave connectivity. However, if we want to really provide the value to the customers, And if we want to create the systems based on the data decisions, and AI, and if we look at the Wi-Fi, we would see that the 5G still brings more value in terms of the performance. One of the parameters here is a jitter, latency jitter. I mean, how the delay is changing over the time. If we would like to deploy the Wi-Fi networks, the jitter is flying over the time. So it is impossible to analyze the data from the cameras on fly by AI, frame after frame with Wi-Fi. 5G or 5G millimeter wave allows you to have a constant jitter and allows you to have the system or creates the system that customers want to pay for. The system that not provide the data from one point to another, but the system that provides the value or the certain applications to the network. So currently the main focus that we have is still the private networks, especially the applications with the high uplink, with the scenarios when we upload a lot of data from the sensors that produce a lot of data, like, for example, cameras, infrared cameras, 10K cameras, or other devices, mainly for the segments like manufacturing, for quality control, or entertainment and media that we deal with massive amount of data. Fixed wireless access still is an area of interest to where the value here is simply the internet and internet connectivity, but at the moment and this time it's very difficult to, let's say, commercialize it on the high scale. And the backhaul, this is also very good, let's say, medium of bringing the data from one point to another and building the value on top of this. As Microamp, we created the system that is perfect from the telco point of view. It is really high throughput, 800 megahertz system that allows you to pass and create a capacity of 4 gigabits per second with the latency like 5 milliseconds. It's purely flexible. You can deploy in many scenarios like IAB, uplink heavy system, mobility mode in millimeter wave. It's really great. However, to monetize the network, we need to build something different. We don't need to monetize it as a private network or as a wireless system, but as a completely different systems. And if we look at the, let's say, applications or the scenarios that Microamp is dealing, so the first is like the teleoperations. It allows us to create a really good system for teleoperation, not the system for sending the data or connectivity system, but the teleoperation system, where in the same time you need to upload a massive volume of data from the cameras around the truck and control the truck in the same time. This is the real value that the customers wants to pay, and the customer in that case are paying for the teleoperation systems. Or data shower scenario that is built based on the millimeter wave technology. Usually this feature or this system cannot compete with a Wi-Fi due to obvious reason, but in that case customers are paying for time. So putting the data from one point to another on the pen drive for 10 minutes costs you X dollars, but using wireless system in data shower configuration and market properly as a data shower brings you cost you X, which is less than previous value. AI data analytics is also extremely important system that allows us to monetize the networks because mainly we are getting or creating the value based on the outputs that is coming from the data. So no one wants to pay for the data at the moment in telco, but if customers wants to pay for the output that are coming from the data. Also, the mesh networking can decrease the costs and the time of building the infrastructure. However, let's focus on really the value that the industry were talking 10 years ago. Because 10 years ago, I remember that industry was talking about the networks that will not only provide the data connectivity, but they will provide the features. And after 10 years, we have in 2025, and still to monetize the network, we need to have the end devices and the complete ecosystem. And where is this additional feature that the networks were supposed to provide? One of the examples is integrated access and sensing, ISAC. This is a great example how to monetize the network and how to monetize the infrastructure itself, not only in the case of the pure connectivity layers. Because in ISAC, infrastructure works as a transmission medium and also as a feature, depending on how we implement this feature and how we deploy certain scenarios. So ISAC, which is at the moment in the process of being under the standardization, allows you to create additional apps on the infrastructure that creates you the second layer of value for the customers and creates you something that customers are really eager to pay for. However, this is the future, and we believe that this is the right direction industry should follow. Another is NTN networks. This is obvious to decrease the costs of the infrastructure, and we believe that mmWave is able to bring a lot of value to NTN network, especially in the regenerative payload in many cases and in many scenarios for the ad hoc connectivity, especially for the areas where the infrastructure is very difficult to develop or infrastructure that the cost of maintenance is huge. So this is where we are with deployment. At Microamp, we have more than 40, at the moment, more than 50 deployments. We created our own mmWave technology that is deployed in 17 countries so far. We work with many system integrators, and we are trying to solve the problem not related with the connectivity, but related with the value that this connectivity delivers. So some of the examples here is teleoperation in logistics. Our system is used to teleoperate the truck in the logistics center. So in the same time, you can upload the data from the cameras and control the truck in the system that is very simple in terms of complexity, similar to Wi-Fi. Another case with Lufthansa, this is the data shower case where we are enabling transmission or uploading 200 gigabits per second in less than 10 minutes with our system. And the value is in the time, not in the connectivity. And this is something that is really, and the customers, in terms of the business models, they are paying for the time and for the money they can cost. So to sum up, at Microamp, we are not trying even to upgrade the technology from sub-6 to mmWave. It's not all about the technology upgrade. It's about the business model upgrade. So we are happy to work with partners and customers and operators that share our vision to help us bring this technology forward and help us to boost the value that connectivity can bring to the industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dawid. That was really, really good. So that closes us up for the day on the acceleration stage. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you to all of our speakers, including Dawid from Microamp. Please come and join us for the happy hour at 5:30. It happens on the 3rd floor. There's a beautiful view over Dublin. There's free drinks, there's free food, and it's a chance to network. So we will see you all tomorrow. Our first session tomorrow on the acceleration stage is at 8:30, and doors open at 8 o'clock. See you then. Bye-bye.